Places of pilgrimage. A visit to a place of pilgrimage, tirtha, brings the same punya that is obtained from performing a yajna. It is because people had not gone on pilgrimages or donated gold and cows in their earlier lives that they were born poor in their next lives. The best place of pilgrimage is Pushkara. Brahma, other gods and sages who wish to go to heaven live there. The best time to go to Pushkara is in the month of Kartika. In Pushkara itself there are two other places of pilgrimage known as Jambumaga and Kandulek Ashrama. It is difficult to go to Pushkara, but there are several other tirthas as well. One such is Kurukshetra, where Vishnu and the other gods keep on coming. The river Saraswati flows near Kurukshetra. If one bathes in the Saraswati, one attains Brahmaloka. Any region through which the river Ganga flows also becomes a tirtha. Even if one sees the Ganga, the punya of performing yajnas is attained. A person who bears earth from the bed of the Ganga on his head is freed of all sins. Prayaga is another famous place of pilgrimage. Brahma, Vishnu, Indra and the other gods, Gandharvas, Apsaras and the sages are always there in Prayaga. This is because the two holy rivers, Ganga and Yamuna, come together in Prayaga. There are many tirthas inside Prayaga itself. The sages have said that, in the month of Magha, if one bathes for 3 days in Prayaga, that is better than donating crores and crores of cows. If one donates alms in Prayaga, one goes to Swarga and is born as a king in one's next life. If one dies in Prayaga, one goes straight to Vishnuluka. Shiva himself had told Parvati that Varanasi was a very holy tirtha and that Shiva never left the city. Varanasi is so named because it is located at the junction of two rivers, Varna and Asi. Varanasi is also known as Kashi. The river Narmada is also sacred. There may be several holy tirthas, but Gaya is the holiest of them all. A demon named Gaisura once started to perform, and such were the powers of his tapasya that the gods began to suffer. They went to Vishnu and asked him to save them. Vishnu agreed and appeared before Gaisura. "Accept a boon," said Vishnu. "Grant me the boon that I may become the most sacred of all tirthas," replied the Daitya. The boon was granted and Gaisura disappeared. The gods returned to Swarga, but felt that the earth seemed to be deserted now that Gaisura had disappeared. Vishnu then instructed Brahma and the other gods to perform a sacrifice. He also asked them to go to Gaisura and ask for his body so that the sacrifice might be performed on it. Gaisura readily agreed, and as soon as he agreed, his head fell off from the body. Brahma then proceeded to perform the sacrifice on Gaisura's headless body. But as soon as the sacrifice started, the body began to shake. This meant that the sacrifice could not be properly performed and a solution had to be found. The solution was that the gods should all enter a stone which would be placed on Gaisura's body so that the body would not shake. The sacrifice could then be performed. Vishnu himself also entered the stone. It is because the gods and Vishnu are always there in Gaya that Gaya is sacred. In fact, there is a story behind this stone as well. The sage Marichi was Brahma's son and had married Dharmavrata. One day, Marichi went to the forest to collect wood and flowers and returned extremely tired. He called Dharmavrata and said, "I am very tired. Today you must wash my feet for me." Dharmavrata began to wash Marichi's feet when Brahma suddenly arrived. Dharmavrata did not know what to do. Should she finish washing her husband's feet? Or should she first attend to Brahma, since Brahma was Marichi's father? She decided to attend to Brahma first. At this Marichi became very angry and cursed Dharmavrata that she would turn into a stone. Dharmavrata was greatly distressed at being cursed for what she thought had not been a fault at all. So she performed tapasya for many years. When Vishnu and the other gods were pleased at Dharmavrata's meditation, they appeared and offered to grant her a boon. Dharmavrata wished that the curse imposed on her by Marichi might be waived. The gods explained that this was impossible, since Marichi was a very powerful sage. What they would, however, do was to make Dharmavrata a very holy stone desired even by the gods. The gods promised to be always inside this stone. It was this stone that was placed on Galsura's body. Once the sacrifice was over, Galsura himself desired a boon from the gods, and the gods granted him that Gaya would become the most sacred of all tirthas. It was in Gaya that the Pandavas had prayed to Vishnu. Geography. The world is divided into 7 regions, Dvipas. Their names are Jambu, Plaksha, Shalmali, Kush, Krauncha, Shaka, and Pushkara. The 7 Dvipas are surrounded by 7 oceans, and the names of these oceans are Lavana, Ikshu, Sura, Serpi, Dai, Dugdha and Jala. Right in the center of Jambudvipa is Mount Meru. Mountains named Himavana, Hemkutha and Nishta are to the south of Meru, and mountains named Nila, Shweta and Shringi are to the north of Meru. Jambudvipa is known by that name as there are a large number of Jambu, Jamun, trees in this area. On the top Mount Meru is Brahma's famous city. Under the earth is the underworld. This too consists of 7 regions, and their names are Atala, Vipla, Sutala, Taltala, Mahatala, Rasatsala and Patala. The Daityas and the Danvas live in the underworld. Vishnu is also there in the underworld, in his form of the great snake Shesha. The snake Shesha holds up the earth on its hood. That part of the sky which is lit up by sun rays is known as Nabha. Above the earth is the sun, above the sun the moon, above the moon the stars, above the stars Mercury, above Mercury Venus, above Venus Jupiter, and above Jupiter the constellation of the Great Bear, Saptasimandala. Beyond this constellation is the world of Dhruva. Astrology. The Agni Purana next gives a lot of information on astrology. It states when marriages should take place and when they should not. For example, marriages are never to be held in the months of Chatra and Pusha or under the signs of Libra or Gemini. If one is going on a trip, then Friday is the best day to start on. Medicine should not be taken if one of the nakshatras, stars, Pushya, Hasta, Jyesht, Shravana or Ashwini is not in the sky. If one wishes to have a bath after recovering from an illness, then Saturday is the best day for such a bath. The first time a child's head is shaved should never be on Tuesday or a Saturday. Ears should be pierced on Wednesday or Thursday. New clothes should not first be worn on Wednesday, Thursday or Friday. A new house should not be entered into the months of Chatra, Jyesht, Bhadra, Ashwina, Pusha or Magha. It is best to reap grain on a Wednesday. Manvantaras. Each Manvantara, era, is ruled over by a Manu. The first Manu was Swayambhuva. Shatakratu held the title of Indra during this Manvantara. The second Manu was Swarokisha. Vipashchita held the title of Indra during this Manvantara. Third Manu was Uttama and Sushanti was Indra then. The fourth Manu was Tapasa and Shiki held the title of Indra then. The fifth Manu was Ravta and Vitatha was Indra then. The title of Indra was held by Manojwa during the sixth Manvantara, the Manu being Chakusha. Next came Shradadeva, The seventh Manu Purnadara being the Indra. The eighth Manu's name is Savarni and the eighth Indra's Bali. The eighth Manvantara has not yet come. The ninth Manu will be Dakshaswarni and the ninth Indra will be Adbhuta. During the 10th Manvantara, the Manu will be Brahmaswarni and the title of Indra will be held by Shanti. During the rule of the 11th Manu Dharmaswarni, the Indra will be Gan. The 12th Manu will be Rudraswarni and the 12th Indra will be Riddhama. Rauja will be the 13th Manu and Devaspati will be the 13th Indra. The 14th Manu will be Bhautya and the title of Indra will then be held by Shuchi. During each of Brahma's days, there are 14 such Manvantaras. After that comes Brahma's night, when all these living beings are destroyed. Varna Ashrama Dharma. All the Manus practiced the precepts of Dharma, righteousness. This meant non-violence, truthfulness, piety, going on pilgrimages, donating alms, serving devas and brahmanas, tolerance of all religions and the following of the sacred texts. It also meant the practice of the system of the 4 classes, varna, and the 4 stages in life, ashrama. The 4 varnas are brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas and shudras. Performing sacrifices, donating alms and studying the Vedas are duties that brahmanas, kshatriyas and vaishyas must perform. In addition, the kshatriyas must protect the good and punish the evil. The vaishyas must take care of trade, agriculture and animal husbandry. The duties of shudras are to serve the brahmanas and artisanship. When brahmanas take up the upavita, the sacred thread that is the mark of the first 3 classes, it is like a second birth for them. So brahmanas are known as dvijas, born twice. An anuloma marriage is a marriage where the husband is from a higher class than the wife. The offspring of such a marriage belong to the mother's class. A pratiloma marriage is a marriage where the wife is from a higher class than the husband. Chandalas were born this way from Brahmana women, Sutas from Kshatriya women, Devalas from Vaishya women, Pukashas from Kshatriya women and Magads from Vaishya women. Chandalas are executioners, Sutas charioteers, Devalas guards, Pukashas hunters and Magads bards. Chandalas should live outside the villages and should not touch those belonging to any other class. The best name for a Brahmana is that which ends in Sharma. Similarly, the best name for a Kshatriya ends in Varma, for a Vaishya in Gupta and for a Shudra in Dasa. The sacred thread ceremony is to be held at the age of 8 years for Brahmanas, 11 years for Kshatriyas and 12 years for Vaishyas. No sacred thread ceremony should be held beyond 16 years of age. The first stage in life is that of brahmacharya, studenthood. A student should never eat honey or meat and should never indulge in singing or dancing. He should completely give up violence and speaking to women. His duties are to discuss the Shastras, holy texts, and associate with learned men. Apart from that, he will meditate in solitude on the true nature of the Brahman. The next stage of life is that of Grihastha, household stage. A Brahmana may have 4 wives, a Kshatriya 3, a Vaishya 2 and a Shudra only 1. The husband and the wife should be from the same varna. Marriage across varna is to be avoided. A woman can marry again provided that her husband has disappeared, is dead, has become a hermit or is such a sinner that he is expelled from his own varna. If her husband dies, a widow is permitted to marry her late husband's younger brother. A householder should get up at dawn and pray to the gods. He should always bathe in the morning. He should not talk impolitely. He should not bite his nails. He should not laugh at those who are inferior. And he should never reside in a place where there is no king, no doctor or no river. He must not insult his elders. He should never criticize the Vedas, the Shastras, the Devas, the sages and the king. And he must never travel without a light at night. The third ashrama is vanaprastha, forest, dwelling stage. Such a person should always sleep on the ground and wear skins as clothes. He should wear his hair matted and give up the company of other people. He has to serve gods and guests and live on fruit and roots. In the final stage of life, sannyasa, a person becomes a hermit. In this ashrama, a person attains true knowledge and is completely freed. But he should become a hermit only when he is convinced that he has completely lost all interest in material pursuits. Such a person is not affected by birth or death. He realizes that the physical body is transient, that it is of no concern at all. It is the knowledge of the Atman, soul, that is the best form of knowledge. When one gains this knowledge, one realizes the identification of the Atman with the Brahman, one understands that the Brahman is everywhere. Sins and their atonement. If one commits a sin, one has to atone for it. This is known as prayashchitta. If one does not atone for the sins that one has committed, it is the king's duty to punish the sinner. If one drinks from a well where the dead body of an animal has been floating, one has to fast for 3 days. The worst possible sins are the killing of Brahmana, the drinking of wine and theft. Other sins are criticizing the Vedas, the bearing of false witness, killing a friend, killing a cow, forsaking one's parents or sons, the selling of pawns, murder, lying, killing animals and the cutting down of green trees for fodder. A killer of a Brahmana has to build a hut in the forest and live there for 12 years. He has to beg for a living and give up all that he possesses to another Brahmana. A killer of cows has to live on just coarse grain for a month. He has to live with cattle and follow them around during the day. All his possessions have to be given up to a Brahmana and he has to bathe in cow's urine for 2 months. If a Brahmana steals gold, he should go and report his crime to the king. The king will then hit him with a club and this will be the Brahmana's prayashchitta. The sin of killing Kshatriya is 1/4 the sin of killing a Brahmana. If one kills a Vaishya, the sin is 1/8 the sin of killing a Brahmana. And if one kills a Shudra, the sin is 1/16 of the sin of killing a Brahmana. Killing a cat, a mongoose, a frog, a dog, a lizard or a crow is as sinful as killing a Shudra. Vratas depending on the tithi, lunar day, the day of the week, the nakshatras, stars, the month, the season and the position of the sun, certain specific religious rites and ceremonies have to be performed. These are known as vratas. The first day of the lunar fortnight is known as Pratipta. The day of Pratipta in the months of Kartika, Ashwina and Chaitra are Brahma's tithis. It is then that the worship of Brahma must be done. On the second day of the lunar fortnight, Dvitiya, one should eat only flowers and pray to the 2 Ashwinis. This makes the supplicant handsome and lucky. Shuklapaksh is that lunar fortnight in which the moon waxes and Shuklapaksh Dvitiya in the month of Kartika is earmarked for the worship of Yam. If one performs this vrata, one does not have to go to Naraka, hell. This is also the day for praying to Balram and Krishna. It was on the 3rd day of the lunar fortnight, Tritiya, in Shuklapaksh and in the month of Chaitra, that Shiva married Parvati or Gauri. Rites performed on this day are thus known as Gaurivrata. Shiva and Parvati have to be given offerings of fruit. The 8 names of Parvati have to be recited. These are Lalita, Vijaya, Bhadra Bhavani, Kumuda, Shiva, Vasudevi and Gauri. Chaturthi Vrata is performed on the fourth day of the lunar fortnight, is Shukla Paksh and in the month of Magha. This is the day for worshipping the common gods, Gandevata. The offerings on this occasion are to be wine and fragrant perfumes. On the fifth day of the lunar fortnight, one performs Panchami Vrata. This grants good health and takes care of bad omens. Particularly auspicious for Panchami Vrata are the Shukla Pakshas in the months of Shravana, Bhadra, Ashwina and Kartika. On the sixth day of the lunar fortnight one performs Shashti Vrata. One has to live only on fruit, and if one performs this Vrata, the fruits of any action that one performs live forever. Shashti Vrata should be observed especially in the months of Kartika and Bhadra. Surya is to be worshipped on the seventh, Saptami, day of the lunar fortnight. If Saptami Vrata is observed in Shukla Paksh, all sorrow disappears. Sins are stoned for and all one's desires are attained. Women who have no children can have sons if they observe these rites. The eighth day of the lunar fortnight, Ashtami, is very significant. Krishna was born on this tithi in the month of Bhadra when the nakshatra Rohini was in the sky. Ashtami is therefore auspicious in the month of Bhadra. If one fasts on that day and prays to Krishna, the sins of one's earlier 7 lives are atoned for. But this Vrata is to be observed in Krishna Paksh and not in Shukla Paksh, since Krishna was born in Krishna Paksh. Together with Krishna, Rohini and the moon, Devki, Vasudeva, Yashoda, Nanda and Balram are also to be worshipped on the occasion. Since Krishna took birth, Janma, on this Ashtami Tithi, this particular day is known as Janmashtami. The eighth day of the lunar fortnight can be important even if it is not the month of Bhadra. For example, the eighth day of the lunar fortnight might be a Wednesday, Buddhavara, in both Shukla Paksh and Krishna Paksh. Irrespective of the month, such an Ashtami is important and is known as Buddhashtami. On that day one has to live only on molasses and rice and perform the Vrata. There used to be a Brahmana named Dhira whose wife was named Ramba. Dhira's son was Kaushika, his daughter was Vijaya and Dhira's bull was named Dhanada. Kaushika would go with the other cowherds to graze the bull. Once when Kaushika was having a bath in the river Bhagirathi and the bull was grazing, some thieves came and stole the bull. Kaushika and his sister Vijaya looked everywhere for it, but could not find it. In searching for the bull, they came to a lake where some women were bathing in the course of performing a Vrata. Brother and sister were tired and hungry and they craved for some food. The women agreed to give them food, but only after Kaushika and Vijaya had also performed the Buddhashtami Vrata. And as soon as Kaushika performed the ritual, the bull was miraculously returned to him. Such were the powers of the Vrata that Kaushika could get his sister Vijaya married off to Yam and himself became the king of Ayodhya. After their parents Dhira and Ramba had died, Vijaya discovered that her father and mother were in Narka. When she asked Yam as to how her parents might be delivered from Narka, Yam told her that Kaushika and Vijaya should perform Buddhashtami Vrata again. And immediately after they did so, the parents attained Swarga. The ninth day of the lunar fortnight is Navami, and Navami in Shukla Paksh, especially in the month of Ashwina, is earmarked for the worship of Gauri. An animal has to be sacrificed and offered to the goddess on this occasion. The Brahmanas become all-powerful if they observe Dashmi Vrata on the 10th day of the lunar fortnight and donate 10 cows. The 11th day of the lunar fortnight, Ekadashi, is for fasting. It is also the tithi for praying to Vishnu. The observance of Ekadashi Vrata grants sons and wealth and atones for one's sins. The 12th day of the lunar fortnight is Dwadashi. Any Dwadashi in Shukla Paksh is auspicious for worshipping Vishnu. Dwadashi in the month of Bhadra is for praying to cows and calves, and in the month of Chakra it is for praying to the god of love, Madana. If one observes Dwadashi for an entire year, one never has to go to Nirka. An especially good conjunction is Dwadashi in Shukla Paksh in the month of Bhadra when the nakshatra Shravana is in the sky. If one fasts and observes a vrata, then one earns greater punya than from bathing in the confluence of sacred rivers. If Buddha, Mercury, is also in the sky, the punya is multiplied several-fold. Trayalashi Vrata is on the 13th day of the lunar fortnight, and this ritual was first performed by the god of love when he wanted to please Shiva. This is the tithi on which Shiva is worshipped. In the month of Ashwina, Indra is also revered on this tithi. And in the month of Chatra, the god of love is worshipped in Shukla Paksh on the same tithi. The 14th day of the lunar fortnight, Chaturdashi, is also earmarked for Shiva, particularly in the month of Kartika. One fasts and donates to Brahmanas and thereby attains Swarga. The Chaturdashi in Krishna Paksh that comes between the months of Magha and Falguna is known as Shivratri. Then one has to fast and stay awake the whole night. Earlier, there used to be an evil hunter named Sundasena. But because he performed a vrata on Shivratri, all his sins were forgiven. Nirkas, hells, if one worships Vishnu with flowers, one never goes to hell. There are several such hells. Although people do not wish to die, they are bound to die once their predestined time span on earth has been exhausted. One then has to pay for whatever sins one might have committed. The sinners suffer, and those who have performed good deeds are naturally rewarded. There are in fact two gates that lead into Yam's abode. The good are brought by Yamdutas, Yam's servants, through the western gate and are then taken to Swarga. Yam's servants bring the evil to him through the southern gate, and Yam then dispatches them to the various hells. If one kills a cow, one has to spend 1,00,000 years in a nirka known as Mahavika. If one kills a Brahmana or steals land, there is a burning nirka named Amakumbha that one goes to. There one suffers till the day when the world is destroyed. A killer of women, children or old men stays in Rava Nirka for the span of 14 manavantras. An arsonist is sent to Maharova and burned there for an entire kalpa. A thief goes to Tamisra, where he is continuously pierced with spears by Yam's servants for several kalpas. After that, a thief is taken to Mahantamishra to be bitten by snakes and insects. If you kill your father or mother, you will be sent to the hell Asipatravana. There you will be continuously sliced into pieces with swords. If you burn someone to death, you will go to Karambavaluka where you will be placed on burning sands. A person who eats sweets alone goes to Kakola and is fed only worms. A person who does not perform yajnas goes to Kutala and is fed blood. An oppressor is sent to Telapka and is crushed like an oilseed there. A liar is sent to the nirka named Mahapat. There are several other nirkas for those who encourage inter-class marriages, those who kill animals, those who cut trees, those who eat too much meat, those who criticize the Vedas, those who bear also witness, and those who criticize their teachers. Giving alms is extremely important as means for achieving punya. Alms always have to be donated when one goes to visit a temple or a place of pilgrimage. The giver must always face the east and the receiver must always face the north when alms are being given. Such donations have to be made after one has had a bath. The best objects for donations are gold, horses, all seeds, snakes, maids, chariots, trees, houses, daughters and cows. If one promises to give something but later goes back on one's promise, one is sure to be destroyed. It should be remembered that the entire object of donation alms is lost if one expects gratitude or friendship in return. It is better to give something to a brother than to a daughter. It is better to give to a father than to a mother. The entire concept of donation alms is different in the four different eras. In Satya Yuga, the giver went out in search of recipient to whom he could give something. In Treta Yuga, the recipient had to come to the giver's house before he would be given anything. In Dwapara Yuga, the giver never gave anything without being asked for it by the recipient. And in Kali Yuga, the giver gives only to those who are servile to him. Gayatri Mantra is a very powerful incantation. The human body has many veins. Out of these, 10 veins are important and their names are Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, Gandhari, Hastijihava, Pritha, Yasha, Alambusha, Huha and Shankini. These veins bear the breath of life. The breath of life is called Pranavayu. Apart from Pranavayu, 9 other major breaths course through the human body. Their names are Apana, Samana, Udna, Vyana, Naga, Kurma, Krikra, Devdatta and Dhananjaya. Gayatri is a goddess worshipped even by Vishnu and Shiva. This goddess is there everywhere, even in every individual's heart in the form of a swan. Gayatri mantra is an incantation to the goddess. If one chants the mantra 7 times, one's sins are forgiven. Chanting it 10 times means that one attains Swarga. To attain worlds, lokas, which are even more desirable than Swarga, one has to chant Gayatri mantra 20 times. If one chants the mantra 108 times. If one chants the mantra 108 times, one does not have to be born again. The severest of sins, like killing cows, brahmanas or parents, are forgiven if one chants the mantra 1,000 times. Gayatri mantra has always to be preceded by the chanting of the sacred word The king's duties are many. He has to punish his enemies, ensure the prosperity of his subjects and arrange that his kingdom is ruled well. He has to protect the sages who perform tapasya inside the boundaries of his kingdom. A king should appoint a wise Brahmana as his priest. His ministers should also be wise and his queen should be a woman who follows the path of dharma. When a king dies, time must not be wasted. The priest must immediately find an auspicious occasion so that a new king can be appointed and crowned. A kingdom can never be without a king. Before the coronation, a prospective king has to purify himself by rubbing his body with mud. Mud from a mountain peak is used for the ears, from a Krishna temple for the face, from an Indra temple for the back, from a palace for the chest, mud raised by an elephant's tusks for the right hand, mud raised by a bull's horns for the left hand, mud from a yajna for the thighs and from a cowshed for the feet. After the king has thus rubbed himself with different forms of mud and purified himself, he is ready to be anointed. 4 types of ministers will appoint him. Brahmana ministers with golden vessels full of clarified butter will stand of the eastern side. Kshatriya ministers with silver vessels full of sweet and thickened milk will stand on the eastern side. Vaishya ministers with copper vessels full of curds will stand on the western side. And Shudra ministers with earthen vessels full of water will stand on the northern side. The priests will then use material from all 4 directions to anoint the king. Water from all the places of pilgrimage will be poured on the king's head and throat. There must be songs and musical instruments must be played. The king will next pray to Brahma, Vishnu, Indra and the other gods. He will look at a mirror, some clarified butter and the various signs of good omen that have been placed all around. The king will then be crowned and introduced to his ministers, advisors and guards. The priest will be given cows, goats, buffaloes and houses by the king. He will also bow before the Brahmanas. After all these ceremonies have been completed, he truly becomes the king. He circles the fire, touches his guru's feet and with all his soldiers, goes out on a procession through the streets so that his subjects can see him. At that time, the king must be seated either on an elephant or a horse. After the procession is over, the king may return to his palace. The king has to appoint many officials. The general has got to be a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. The charioteer must know about horses and elephants, and treasurer must be familiar with different jewels. There has to be a doctor, a keeper of elephants, a keeper of horses, a captain for the palace and another captain for looking after the women of the royal household. Each person must be appointed to the job which suits his expertise and temperament best. Anyone thus appointed by a king has to stick to certain rules. He must always obey the king's orders and must never do anything that is contrary to the king's commands. In public he must always say pleasant things to the king. If there are any unpleasant utterances to be made, they have to be made in a private audience with the king. Those who serve the king must not be thieves, nor must they ever insult the king. They will not dress like the king, nor will they become too intimate with the king. They must not divulge royal secrets. For a fort, the king should choose a place that cannot readily be attacked by enemies. The king must ensure that the gods are worshipped, the subjects are protected and the evils are punished. He should never steal from the temples. Instead he should build temples and set up idols of the gods there. The Brahmanas must also be protected and the king has to make sure that no Brahmanas are killed in his kingdom. For a queen, he has to choose a woman who subscribes to these beliefs. The king will appoint an official to look after every 10 villages and another official to look after every 100 villages. Spies must be appointed to find out all that is going on in the kingdom. The king is entitled to 1/6 of all the punya that accrues in his kingdom through his subjects. But he is also credited with 1/6 of all the sins that are committed in his kingdom. The taxes will be levied as per the dictates of the sacred texts. From whatever is received as taxes, half will go into the royal treasury and the remaining half will be distributed amongst the Brahmanas. If there is a liar, the king will impose a penalty on him to the extent of 1/8 of the liar's total wealth. If the owner of any property is not known, the king will keep the property is not known. The king will keep the property in safe custody for a period of 3 years. Once the owner is identified within a period of 3 years, he can claim the property. But beyond 3 years, he becomes entitled to the property. The property rights of any minor orphan are to be protected by the king. If there is a theft in the kingdom, the king must immediately replace what has been stolen with wealth taken from his own royal treasury. If the thief is caught and the stolen goods recovered, they are used to replenish the treasury. 1/20th of profits made from trade are to be paid to the king as taxes. 1/5 or 1/6 of food grains are to be paid as taxes. One day every month, craftsmen will work free of charge for the king. They will only be given food from the royal kitchen. The king has to pay proper attention to the princes. They have to be taught 4 types of shastras. The first is Dharma Shastra, which teaches what is right and what is wrong. The second is Artha Shastra, economics. The third is Dhanaveda, the art of fighting. And the last subject that has to be taught to princes is Shilpa, arts and crafts. The king has to assign bodyguards to take care of the princes. He must ensure that the princes associate with honorable and learned people and not with undesirable characters. In instances where the princes do not grow up properly despite the king's best efforts, the king is free to keep them imprisoned. But they should be comfortable in the prison and should not be made to suffer there. The king should give up hunting, drinking and the playing of dice. He must not unnecessarily waste time in traveling around. He must first win over his servants through his behavior and then do the same for his subjects. It is only after this has been achieved that he attains a position to conquer his enemies through the use of arms. Anyone who brings harm to the kingdom must immediately be killed. If the king delays in doing that which has to be done, the purpose of the action is completely lost. Nor must the king inform others in advance about what is going to be done. No one must get to know about the king's intended actions. Once the actions have been completed, the fruits of the actions performed are information enough for everyone to see. This does not mean that the king will not consult his ministers. Of course he will. That is why they are ministers. Before sleeping or eating, the king must check whether the bed or the food is safe. There were 7 techniques that kings were supposed to use in ruling their kingdoms. These were known as Sama, Dena, Danda, Vela, Maya, Upeksha and Indrajla. Of these, the first 4 are the most famous. Sama means the art of gentle persuasion. Dena means the usage of donations or money to achieve one's purpose. Danda is punishment. And Vela is the art of aggravating dissension amongst parties opposed to each other. Maya means to use illusions or deceit and Upeksha is to deliberately ignore people so as to achieve one's purpose. Indrajla literally means jugglery. In this context, it would mean to perform a balancing act amongst opposing pulls and opposing parties. What sort of punishment the king should mete out is also laid down. If anyone lies and says that his possessions have been stolen, he is to be fined an amount equal in value to that of the possessions which have supposedly been stolen. A Brahmana who bears false witness is to be banished from the kingdom. A person who kills cows, elephants, horses or camels will have a leg or a hand cut off. A thief who steals gold or silver or an abductor of women will be executed. Execution is also prescribed in cases of arson and poisoning. A wife who does not obey her husband shall be torn to death by dogs. A woman who does not obey her husband or Brahmanas may also have her nose, ears or arms chopped off. She will then be set astride a cow and banished from the kingdom. Dreams. Some dreams are bad omens. In fact, they are nightmares. Examples are dreams about grass or trees growing on one's body, dreams in which the dreamer is shaven-headed or is wearing shabby clothes, or dreams in which one is falling from above. It is also bad to dream of marriages, singing, the killing of snakes and the killing of chandalas or animals. If you dream that you are drinking oil or eating bird meat, that is also a bad omen. Other examples are where the dreamer dreams that he is playing with monkeys or chandalas, when he dreams that devas, brahmanas, the king or the guru is angry, or when he dreams that his house had collapsed. Remedies have to be found if one dreams such evil dreams. Brahmanas have to be worshipped, A yajna has to be performed and the dreamer has to pray to Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, Ganesha or Surya. Dreams dreamt in the first quarter of one's sleep normally come true over the next 1 year. Dreams from the second quarter come true over the next 6 months and dreams from the third quarter over the next 3 months. Dreams from the last quarter come true over the next fortnight and dreams dreamt right at dawn come true within the next 10 days. If one first dreams a good dream and then an evil one, it is the evil dream that will come true. Therefore, if one dreams a good dream, one should not sleep anymore. One should immediately arise. There are many dreams that are good dreams. For example, dreams that involve mountains, palaces or snakes. Or the dreamer might dream that he is riding on a horse or a bull. It is also good to dream of white flowers in the sky or to see trees in a dream. Especially good dreams are those of the dreamers possessing many arms or many heads or of grass and bushes sprouting from his navel. What if you dream of wearing white garlands or clothes? That too is good. If you dream of eclipses of the sun, the moon or the stars, by all means rejoice. And if in a dream you see that you have caught hold of the enemy's flag, that surely means that you will triumph over the enemy. And if you actually dream of defeating the enemy, the interpretation is clear enough. Strangely enough, a dream where the dreamer sees that he is eating rice pudding is a good dream. As is the case with dreams of drinking wine or blood, or even of eating wet meat. A clear sky in a dream is good. Dreaming of milking a cow or a buffalo with one's own mouth is also good. The dream continues to be a good one if one dreams of milking a lioness or a she-elephant thus. Other dreams which have good interpretations are, for example, dreams of the dreamers receiving blessings from devas or brahmanas or of being anointed with water. The dreamer who dreams of his coronation is blessed. And he is doubly blessed if he dreams that his head has been cut off or that he has died or even that his house has been burned down. The relatives of such a dreamer increase in number and he also prospers. It is good to dream of musical instruments being played, or of riding a bull or climbing a tree. Wet clothes, trees laden with fruit and clear blue skies in dreams are especially good. Omens and signs. If one is about to go out of the house, one should take care of any bad omens that there might be. Such bad omens are cotton, dried grass, cow dung, coal, molasses, leather, hair, a lunatic, a chandala, a widow, a dead body, ashes, bones and a broken vessel. If one comes across these as one is about to leave, one should not start without pacifying the elements through prayers to Vishnu. The sound of musical instruments is not an auspicious sound at the beginning of a journey. If the means of transport by which one is traveling breaks down, that too is a bad omen. If weapons break, perhaps you should postpone the journey. The same is the case if an umbrella held over one's head happens to fall. If one hits one's head against the lintel of the door as one is about to cross the threshold, prayers are again indicated. And never call back someone who has just left. That is a bad omen and bodes ill for the success of the journey. There are good omens for a departure, and if one sees these good omens, the journey is bound to be successful. Good omens are white flowers, full vessels, meat, distant noises, an old goat, a cow, a horse, an elephant, fire, gold, silver, a sword, an umbrella, fruit, clarified butter, curds, a conch shell, sugar cane, the sound of thunder, lightning and a dead body with no one crying over it. Omens are important even if one is not going on a journey. A peacock crying on the left means that something is going to be stolen. If a donkey brays with a broken voice, that is good omen and something good will happen. If a boar or a buffalo crosses over from the left to the right, that is a good omen. But if they cross over from the right to the left, that is a bad omen. One's desires will be attained if horses, tigers, lions, cats or donkeys cross over from the right to the left. Jackals, moles, lizards, pigs and cuckoos are good omens on the left and monkeys are good omens on the right. If a jackal calls once, twice, thrice or 4 times, that is a good omen. It is a bad omen if a jackal calls 5 or 6 times. It is a very good omen if a jackal calls 7 times. If crows caw on the left of an army, the soldiers will not be able to win. If a crow can be seen near the door of a house, this means that there will soon be a guest. A crow looking at the sun with one eye signifies great danger. A crow covered with mud means the attainment of one's desires. A dog barking inside the house leads to the death of the householders. A person whose left limbs are sniffed by a dog will attain riches. If the right limbs are sniffed, there will be danger. A dog blocking one's path signifies theft. A dog with a bone or a rope in its mouth means the loss of property. But it is a good omen to see a dog with meat in its mouth. Cows mooing irregularly mean threats to the master of the house. If this happens at night, there will be a theft or a death in the house. If the cows have horns that are wet or daubed with mud, that is a good sign for the householders. A cow that plays with cranes or doves is bound to die. A cow that licks its feet is also destined to die. If an elephant strikes its right foot with its left, that is a good sign. Prosperity comes if an elephant rubs its right tusk with its foot. There is great danger if an umbrella falls just as one is about to leave on a trip. Journeys are to be avoided if the stars are not favorable. If you enjoyed part 2 of Agni Purana, please like and subscribe to be notified of when part 3 of Agni Purana has been uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.